Po' Boy Special here. I'm very excited about the round we have to test today. What is it? It is the Federal, and you can see here it has a bunch of letters, T556 TNB1. Show you a picture of it here. What is so special about this round? Well, first of all, it's very, very hard to find. It took me a while to find this, and one of our viewers was very, very kind enough to send this to us to test. This is a 556, and it's called by many names. OTMRP, MK318 Mod 0, barrier blind. What does it all mean? Well, let me give you a brief description of what all those things mean about this round. The United States Special Operations Command was using a 556 NATO cartridge. The Marine Corps was using this and they loved it. And they referred to it as the SOST, which stands for Special Operations Science and Technology. Now, other people call it OTMRP, meaning it's an open tip match. It looks like a hollow point, but they call it open tip. And the RP stands for rear penetrator. And what that means is the front part, the open tip part, is very frangible, so that as it hits some sort of barrier, that front part actually smushes, yes, that's a technical term, and creates an opening for the rear part of the bullet that is a solid copper piece to penetrate and go through. That's why it's called rear penetrator. So, what does it mean by barrier blind? Just that when it hits a barrier, that front part is designed to fragment and smush, while the rear part is meant to penetrate and keep on going and keep on trucking through. So, there you go. Whatever you want to call this round, if you want to call it SOST, MK318 Mod 0, barrier blind, OT, whatever you want to call it, you're going to see it here on the Po' Boy Special channel. Alright, that shot came in at 2,255 feet per second. Let's see how it did. Here's the entrance, following the trajectory, the path right here. It really starts to open up at about 1.5 inches, which is about right here. And in between that 1.5 inches and maybe the 3-inch mark is where you get that first really big cavity right there. And you see the next cavity in between the 4 and the 7, and it looks like it settles down and goes pretty straight, and we'll show you the rest here in a second. As we look at the back of the gel, we see that it did exit the gel, so we know at least it went 16 inches. We don't see anything on the back stop of the cardboard except when we turn it up. You can see it did pass into the cardboard and back. So let's check the jug that's behind it. Here is the jug sitting in behind the gel block that was behind the partition of cardboard. And as we turn it around, yes, we definitely see a hole in the bottom. This shot was a little bit low. That's okay. You see it did make it in. We're going to try and dig through this and see if we can find the bullet and see how far it went. Oh, there we do. We see the bullet inside. You can actually see the bullet inside about halfway through. So if we turn it back the way it was, alright, like that, you can see at about 3.5 inches penetration here. We're going to try and dig that bullet out. Alright, here's the result of that Federal round. Man, did it really mushroom and perform more than I anticipated. I did not expect this to do this at all. Those petals peeled back very, very well, very nicely. And you can see the expansion on it. The expansion on it is very good. I lay it down to the side here, you can see. And this is out of digging it out of all that jello. And if you want to see the dimensions on that, set it down right here so you can get a good bird's eye view of the measurements of that. Like I said, this really performed well. I was very impressed by this round. I did not expect it. We've had premier rounds, expensive rounds before that just did not open up, didn't do what this one has done. So it altogether, it got 16 inches through ballistic gel, 6 inches of more gel, and came to rest at the end of that 6 inches. So 16, about 22 inches total of gel, really good expansion, and I'm calling that almost, let me push it up here, almost at a 1/2 inch of expansion. Expanded to about a 1/2 inch. Okay, let's see what that Federal round did. Barrier blind, they call it. Let's find out. Removing the first 2x4. You can see where the shot went in here. Let's see if it made it to the other side. Yes, it did. It did come out the other side of the 2x4. And you can see behind me, there is a nice hole in the concrete barrier. I'm going to bring it out to the front here. There you go. Look at that. Look at the hole that made in that concrete. About as big as my finger, and then some for the total. Let me turn around and show you the back side of it. That's what it did to the back side. And if you want some measurements on that, it took out probably a 3.25 inch chunk of complete circle of damage here on the back. That's a pretty good size hole for that round. Here's the debris that was from the concrete block here. And you can see it kind of took that concrete block and kind of used it as shrapnel and just put chunks and everything into this wooden block or wooden stump behind me, and you can see what kind of damage it did to that. That's a pretty awesome, pretty devastating little round. Alright, Federal versus 2-inch thick concrete slab. Alright, let's see what kind of damage it did. This is the one from the Federal. This is the one from the Hornady Tap. And it looks like the Federal did go completely through 2 inches of concrete. We turn this around so you can see. Yes, it did. Look at this devastation that it caused. Here's the hole, and this was from the Hornady tap over here on this side, but man, it went completely through it, and boy did it take some with it. Let's see if we can look and see if we can find, maybe the round is on the table. Yes, it is. Found it. And this is the Federal, and that's the rear penetrating part. So there it is. We found it. So it did go through 2 inches of solid concrete and smack that and do a lot of damage. So you saw it here on the Po' Boy Special channel.